Come rain or shine, he's the man who's racked up Irish Derby wins for fun. He is, of course, Seamie Heffernan, who's aboard Adelaide River today, one of the huge battalion of Aidan O'Brien runners. But Seamie, as you know only too well, oftentimes it doesn't really matter what you're slated to ride in the morning. You can come out on top against people's expectations in this race.
Exactly, yeah. They're prepared, they're very well bred. And listen, sometimes the main horse doesn't turn up, so the second or third string can pick up the pieces.
Do you ever sort of come to this day and think, yeah, this is my day. I've won this 4 times. Does it put a spring in your step when you get out of bed on Irish Derby morning?
It's usually the opposite. I'm usually happy to run place, and it probably helps that there's no pressure on me, and if it happens then it's brilliant. But these are the days that I keep going for. You want to be riding in the big races, you want to be on television, you want to be doing the interviews, you want to be invited to shows like this. This is what it's all about. But
it's interesting you should say that, because obviously you spent quite a lot of your career achieving an awful lot by steady accumulation, but not really being in the limelight. Have you quite enjoyed that contrast or not?
Yeah, I probably have the best job in racing, and that's why I've lasted so long, because there's no pressure. And I really enjoy what I'm doing. I get really well looked after. I don't want for anything. If I need anything, the money's there to buy it, so I'm in a good place.
And you've ridden 13, I think, of Aidan's Classic winners all told. Have I got that right? I think it's 13. 4 of these. A derby, of course, on Anthony Van Dyke as well. I think there was an enormous amount of goodwill that day, because everyone thought, right, they've all won a derby for Aidan, but Seamie hasn't, and that was a really special day too.
Yeah, I was riding to run well, and I remember tracking Frankie down and having to pull it to 2-pole at Epsom. When you have to do that, if you don't win, you're unlucky. So it panned out. I met the Queen, and it was really memorable what I done.
When was the first time you recall meeting Aidan O'Brien?
I actually went to the apprentice school on the advice from Arthur Moore, and I was 15 when I met Aidan in PJ Finn's here in the Curragh. So he's been pretty much holding my hand for a long time.
And what age was Aidan at the time? Because you're not that far apart, are you?
2.5, maybe 3 years older.
Uh-huh. What did you think of him then, when he was 17, you were 15? What was he like then?
Much the same. Determination.
So you could tell even when he was a 17-year-old?
Yeah, he was determined. Yeah, determination, that's one word.
And when you say he looked after you, did you know then that you guys would be doing something together for a while?
Yeah, he was there, and his sister was married to the head man, Chase Levin. So, listen, I was very young and I needed a bit of looking after. So when PJ was winding down, it wasn't working for him. Aidan left, moved to Jim Bulger, and as soon as there was a job there for me, he invited me down. I was champion apprentice with Jim, and when Aidan went training to the hill, he invited me to go work for him. I was actually meant to ride his very first winner, except Jim wouldn't leave me off, and I finished 3rd. Pack Hilson rode it. Those things you remember. But listen, we have plenty of arguments and plenty of disagreements. I suppose it just shows that both of us care.
What was Jim Boulder's reaction when you left to go to Aidan?
I can remember it. It wasn't good. I wasn't going anywhere because I was contracted from year to year, my apprenticeship, so Jim knew the rules, and I wasn't going anywhere until it was legal that I could go. So that's the way that panned out.
I mean, you had this sort of amazing education when you look back on it, at the foot of these kind of giants of the game. Did you realise at the time what you were experiencing?
When I went to Bulger's, I was there with Carberry, Mackay, Willie Supple, Kevin Manning, Christy, Roche. I mean, he was one of the big names, and I was getting on the good horses. And you had to come in with your boots polished, and when he asked you a question, you have to have the answer ready.
Were you quick?
I got quick. I got quick maybe after 10 years. But I enjoyed it. And listen, it was my college. Bulger's was my college. It prepared me for what I had to deal with, right up to what I'm dealing with now.
Do you enjoy that aspect of being a team player? Is that what you were made to do you think?
Well, when you're aiming at the top and you don't get to the top, you have to be on the best team. So I've been on the best team for a long time, and that's where I fit in. I know when I ride a good horse that the next day I'm probably going to be jocked off. But that's who I am. That's my job, and that's what I'm happy doing.
But there's that contrast between you, the competitor, because you've got to be a competitor to do this job. But to win 13 classics, to win 4 Irish derbies, I don't care how good the horses are, you've got to be a keen competitor, right?
You got to be on the right team for starters. When you get your opportunities, you got to get it right.
And how have you found not necessarily riding that good horse the next day?
You just learn to deal with it pretty quick. If you don't deal with it, you don't stay in the game, and you get all different emotions get to you. So you deal with it and carry on.
Who's the best horse you've ridden in a race?
I would have to say So You Think. I think I should have won an arc on him. The race didn't pan out. Not a good stallion now, an okay stallion, but I'd say he was the best, classiest, fastest staying horse I rode.
Do you think the ride in the Eclipse, you won the Coral Eclipse on So You Think, didn't you?
I did, yeah. No, he was a steering job that day.
I thought it was a great ride. You may deflect the credit.
He was a steering job. All I had to do was follow the horse I had to beat and not get there too soon. He was an absolute steering job that day.
So he's the one that's you felt underneath you had the most innate talent.
Yeah, well, I think I should have won an arc on him. So that's the one race I haven't won. For me, he's the one that springs to mind. I rode some machines, Mind and Magical. I won in Galileo. He's the world's best stallion that we're probably ever going to see. I won in such good horses. It's hard to pick out the ones, but I think I should have won an arc on him, and I didn't. So that's the one that springs to mind.
Okay. In terms of the last, say, decade of your career, have you been more set and settled in yourself latterly than you were earlier on? Was there a period where you kind of just accepted your place in the world?
I would say so. I've ridden against the best jockeys, and there's been days where the first jockey said to me going out, the ground has changed, yo, and I'll beat mine, and they're on at 1 to 2 shot and they're telling me what's going to happen. So that's the game we're in, you know. I've been surrounded by the best that were the best for that period, so I suppose it gives you confidence. When you see the kids coming along, you see them making mistakes. They want to get to where the best is, but you have to stay in the slow lane for as long as you can. When you get into that fast lane, you're racing.
I mean, talk about some of those people who have been in the fast lane that have come across the skyline for you. I mean, from Christy Roche to Mick Kinnan to Kieran Fallon to Johnny Mercer to Ryan Moore to Joseph, all the first jockeys at Ballydoyle. Who's had the most profound impact on you, do you think, of all those people?
The first and the last, I'd say Christy Roche all the way through, and Ryan Moore, I think, is bulletproof.
Go on.
He's bulletproof. So my memory comes from Christy teaching me. You learn bits from all the best in between. I mean, Ballydoyle target the best to get the best, and then the best chance, whether it's horses, pedigrees, jockeys. That's what you need to get the best, to have the best chance of success, and then there's no guarantee. But I would say Christy Roche had the biggest influence, and Ryan is probably keeping me going.
What did Christy Roche teach you? I guess you were...
You had to get tough quick. You had to get tough quick and take opportunities and get over disappointments very quickly.
And what do you see in Ryan that you haven't, say, seen in Kinnan, for example, who was always renowned as being...
Yeah, Kinnan could ride in any part of the world and not... Your eye wouldn't be drawn to him and say, who's he, that style is unique or different. Kinnan was the daddy at his time, and maybe I'm misreading it or misjudging it, but it's only my opinion that maybe Ryan is freshest in my mind. That's why I think he's bulletproof, but for me, he's bulletproof.
And is that just his composure in a race?
No, it's his assessment of a horse, how quickly he can get on a horse, ride it, and come to the opinion, I'd be listening to what he'd be saying, and it might match my opinion. How quickly he can adapt to situations. I mean, he does make mistakes. That's what makes him human. But for me, he's the best.
You and Aidan O'Brien are obviously very close. You've had this relationship that goes back such a long way. You know, you've been his great stalwart for so long, and we've kind of seen what it is that makes you both tick. Where are the areas that you would sometimes disagree with him?
We have plenty of disagreements, but we probably want the same result. Mm-hmm. Both of us hate being wrong, and I just want to be the best at what I do, and he wants to be the best at what he does.
Do you think you're quite a good person for him to have around, not just because you've won so many big races, not just because you've got so much experience, but because you can challenge him that little bit, and maybe you can make each other think?
I'd say it's not a disadvantage, us being around each other.
Yeah. Because you can't, because if you're surrounded just by people who say yes, yes, yes all the time, you're not kind of advancing the cause, are you?
Well, I'd agree with you, yeah.
Would he agree with me?
I don't know.
Talk to me about Auguste Rodin, and whether you think he's as good a horse as Aiden tells us he is, and what the Derby suggested he might be.
I suppose the Triple Crown is something that's really unique. So if you have a horse that's a classic horse, if you start him off in the first classic and he wins, knowing he's going to be better going a bit further. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a thin line. If you train them really hard for a Guineas and have them really, really to the pin of their collar, they're probably not going to last the full season. So you're dealing with thin lines, and you need everything to fall into place correct. There's a lot of professions in this game, trainers, jockeys. There's a lot of professions, so it's not easy. It's not easy to get it 100% right all the time.
Is he a real one? That's what I'm asking you. All these horses that we've been talking about and that you trip off your tongue, could you imagine putting him in that list at some point?
The signs are he's a real one, but he does have to keep backing up what people's opinion is of him. They can go lame, they can lose the will to win. Little things can go wrong. I've sat in loads of horses that had really, really good potential, but nobody's seen it, so they're not known or they're forgotten about. They have to keep backing it up and produce.
What impact do you reckon you could have on Adelaide River on this afternoon's race?
I'm only hoping for a good run.
Could this be another rabbit out of the hat? Could this be a Heffernan special?
It sounds good, but highly unlikely.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.